friends. Good morning. This is Saurabh. Welcome to another episode of Progressive Coder. And today's problem that we are going to talk about is find the middle node of a linked list. And this is not a very big problem, but it has one little trick which can help us solve many other problems also in the future. So I thought to cover this small problem in this particular video. Before we start, I will request all of you, if you have not subscribed to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We are going to come up with a lot of such videos. Also press the notification button if you have already subscribed. This will help you get instant notification whenever we upload a new video. So with that out of the way, let's start with discussing about this problem. And first, let's understand what a linked list actually is. So a linked list is a list of nodes where each node in the list points to the next node. And this is the main property of the linked list, which allows traversals as well as insertions and deletions from the linked list. So each node knows about the next node. For example, here element 1 has a pointer to element 3. 3 has a pointer to 5, 5 to 7, and 7 to 9. And 9 points to null, which is basically the end of the linked list. And some of the important operations on a linked list have the below time complexities. So adding an element, constant time, adding an element at the end, again constant time because we know of the tail element, removing an element from the beginning, again constant time, removing element from the end, however, is linear time complexity because you have to traverse till the end of the list, stop at one element before the list, before the tail, so that you can carry out the operation successfully. So this is high level of what a linked list is, and there are variants to linked list. This is a singly linked list. You have doubly linked lists as well, where pointers go both ways, so previous node as well as the next node. But in this video, we are specifically talking about linked list and finding a middle node in the linked list. So finding a middle node, what does it actually mean in terms of a linked list? Let's consider we have this list having elements 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9, and in this case the middle element or the middle node is 5 over here, and we have to somehow find it in as much efficiency as possible. That is the whole goal of this particular problem. And there are basically two approaches which we are going to look at. One is, of course, the brute force approach, which will be the first approach that probably comes to anyone's mind who is given this problem. And then we will look at a better approach in terms of efficiency. And that approach, the second approach, is the one which anybody who asks you this question in an interview setting will be looking for. So let's start with the brute force approach. The whole premise behind a brute force approach is that first we have to find the length of the linked list, and then we can find out the middle node. And the assumption here is that, of course, we don't have ready access to the length of the linked list because, as we have seen, linked list is just a collection of nodes where each node points to the next node, and we don't keep a track of the length of the linked list. So that is the main overarching assumption. With that in mind, there is the first step where we find the length of the linked list, and to do that we have to traverse through the list. So we start from the head element, that is element 1, we go to 3, we go to 5, we basically keep on counting how many elements are there, 7 and 9, and finally we arrive at the length, that is this particular linked list has a length of 5, so 5 elements in the list. So till we encounter null, we keep on counting. So this is the first step. And then once we have this particular length, we can find out the middle node index, which is 5 by 2 divided, which gives us 2.5 approximating to 2, or basically going to the floor rather than the ceiling of the decimal point, we get the value 2. So which means that the middle node is at index 2. And then in the second step, we traverse to index 2. So again, we start from the beginning of the linked list, that is the head element. We count the indexes. So we start at index 0, that is element 1. We go to index 1, element 3, and then we reach index 2, which is then the middle node, and then we return the value of this middle node. So this is what there is to solving this problem in a brute force approach. First, find the length of the linked list, then you traverse to the index 2. So time for the better approach, and we are going to work with the same list 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9. 1 is the head, 9 is the tail of this particular linked list. And the whole premise behind the better approach is that instead of having just one pointer pointing to the current node, we will have 2 pointers in our linked list, and one pointer we will call it as a slow pointer, and second is the fast pointer. And the idea here is that the slow pointer in each iteration will move 1 step ahead, whereas the fast pointer will be moving 2 steps ahead. And we'll see that in action in a minute. And also we have this tiny little condition over here which says that we do this traversal basically till either the fast pointer reaches null, that is at the end of the list, or the next element to the fast pointer is equal to null. So basically in either case we are just trying to encounter the end of the linked list, and we'll see this condition in action just in a minute. So having said that, let's start. So in the beginning our slow and fast pointer both will be at element 1, and let's move ahead. In the second iteration the slow pointer has moved 1 step, now it is pointing to element 3, but the fast pointer has moved 2 steps and it is now pointing to element 5, right? We check this condition, is fast is equal to null or fast.next is equal to null. Neither of those cases is true, so we continue the iteration. So now we move 1 step ahead in terms of the slow pointer. So slow pointer is at element 5 and the fast pointer now is at element 9. We again check the condition, is fast equal to null? No, it is still pointing to element 9. However, fast.next is now equal to null. So the next element to 9 is null and fast.next is null, which means that we have reached the tail of the linked list. And what this signifies is that since the fast pointer has reached the tail, the slow pointer must automatically be at the middle node, which is the element 5. And in this case, we have found the middle node in almost half the number of iterations that it took for us in the brute force approach. In fact, in the brute force approach, it was much more where we were first finding the length and then traversing again. In this case, we have just done one pass, that too we have used only half the number of iterations to find the middle node. So this is one scenario. In this case, we had odd number of elements. Let's see how the same approach works when we have even number of elements. So we have 4 elements, 1, 3, 5 and 7. And let's see how we find the middle node in this case. So we again start with the slow and fast pointer, and we will be working with the same condition. That is, fast is equal to null, or the next element to the fast pointer is equal to null. So we start the iteration from the head. We move 1 step ahead. So the slow pointer reaches 3, but the fast pointer has now reached 5, 2 steps. And again we check the condition. Is fast equal to null? No. Is fast.next equal to null? No, because the next is 7 of course here. So we need to do another iteration. So we do that, and this time the slow pointer reaches 5, and now we say we again check the condition. So fast is equal to null. Yes. So this means that we have reached the end of the linked list. Our fast pointer has traversed. So which means that the slow pointer must be pointing to the middle node, which is at index 2, of course, 0, 1 and 2. So the slow pointer is at the middle node, and we can very safely return that as the middle node. And again, we have only used half the number of steps it would have taken us in the brute force approach. So this is a tiny little trick in this problem, and while this in itself may not be a big deal, but this approach of using fast pointer and slow pointer is used in solving many other complex problems as well in the future, which we will be looking at, of course, in future videos. So if you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel, as well as press the notification button so that you instantly get notified. We'll be using this same approach in solving various problems in the future, and it will be good to know about them. So with that said, have a nice day and keep watching Progressive Coder. Thank you.